So here's the situation. So what happens if you can't find a girl? Do you then say, okay, I'll do a 7-year-old boy? In other words, does the story change significantly if it's a boy versus a girl? You know, if it's a father and a daughter versus a mother and a son. I mean, in other words, those kinds of things could come into play. Like if you just can't cast the right girl, I go, you got to make an executive decision. You go, is it worth shooting it with somebody who's not going to be able to pull it off and give us a weak thing? Like let's say you want to enter this in festivals, you want to have it the best thing it could be, not a mediocre something. So maybe you have to wait until you find the right talent, or you have to change it in some way, you know, or like I said, you put the less than perfect person in the part and you kind of cut around them so that they're not the featured part, but something else is the featured part, and they are there and they're significant, but you can cut away from them when they're not acting the way you want them to be acting. Well, there's things that you can do, but you need to enlist the help of their parents because they're going to be there, hopefully, on the set with you. And again, there are acting schools around Milwaukee. There are a few. There's one out in Brookfield or Wauwatosa, an on-camera acting school. There's one in Kenosha. There's the Rep. There's First Stage. There are other kinds of, you know, where there are kid actors who are good kid actors, and they're used to being, they may or may not be used to being in front of a camera, but they're used to being, you know, performing. So, you know, don't limit yourself to Craigslist. You know, call these people, be professional. You know, I'm serious. Go out and go, where can I get the best kid actor? And call the Rep. Go, this is what I need. You got somebody like, call First Stage. Go, this is what I need.
I actually called First Stage.
Huh?
I actually called First Stage a couple days ago.
For this?
Yeah.
Cool.
Just to ask, can we, like, you know, advertise with young actors? They never got back with me.
Call them again.
You might have thought I was a predator, like you said earlier.
Yeah, well, you know, it's possible, but the other thing is just, you know, you just got to keep calling until you get to the person. You know, and if they say, no, we don't have, you say, well, who do I need to talk to? You know, because for the most part, I mean, I've called First Stage, and that's who I was talking about before. But I mean, you know, I don't, you know, they were helpful. I left the project, so I don't know ultimately, you know, what's become of that. But the point is that I didn't have any problem once I had somebody on the phone. But yeah, you may have to call them. I don't know if they're there 24 hours a day or not.
Yeah, question. When it comes to directing, I know it's not really in the casting direction, my question, but
actually
when it comes to directing a child, I know we give leeway to adult actors, like, okay, well, let me see how you took this role or how you thought of this. But when it comes to a 7-year-old actor, can you say, all right, I want you to be scared, and then if they can't get it, break it down even more minute after that? Or
sure.
Are you stepping on their toes? Like, do 7-year-olds understand stage?
No, and it's funny. I taught kids acting in Los Angeles and adults. I used to work in a video workshop. I worked with a director, and she was her class, but I taught for her, and I taught at USC and different things with her, and substituted for at USC and stuff. Yeah, you can absolutely do that. I mean, you know, you're a director. You can get away with it more with kids because they're kids if you're respectful and you demonstrate that you like them and that you're helping them as opposed to, you know, being a parent who's, you know, kind of an adult figure who's, you know, just making them do something. Again, but you want to nurture it, you want to draw it out. So you're better off doing it with the child where you're saying, here's what I want, and I want you to say it this way, and giving them a line reading. Because sometimes kids can't even, they don't read. You know, I mean, at 7 they should be, but I mean, some kids you see in movies, they aren't old enough to read yet. And so somebody's got to tell them the lines. And so they most likely tell them, do it this way, you know. And then you got to cry on that line. So you know, and you start the crying here. And then they do it, you know. And so you're right on. I mean, right on target. You help them craft the performance. And that's what a director does. Even with an adult, the difference is that an adult's ego is so much more fragile than the child's, you know, and that's why you don't want to go, you know, say it this way, because then they'll, and you would never say that to a Tommy Lee Jones, you know, or Alyssa Milano, you'd never go, oh, here, you have to say it this way. So go, I was talking to a director, literally a week ago, a Hollywood director, we were having lunch, and he said, I watched Tommy Lee Jones come out of off of the shot. They went cut, and Tommy Lee Jones walked over, picked up the camera, went boom, and this is where you put your camera for your next shot. Because he said the director didn't know what he was doing, and Tommy Lee Jones, bam! You know, that's what you're doing now.
Don't hire Tommy Lee Jones.
No, but I mean, some of these pros, you know, they're like, you know, and you would think that they would be nice, but not necessarily. So that's an excellent question. Anything else?
Does anyone have any more questions at all? I don't mean to step on your toes.
No, you got stuff to do. So keep in mind, your job is to get the story up there. The way you get the story up there is you have a cast tell the story. You capture it on film as best you can. So that's where your DP comes in, and the lighting and the sound. But again, if nothing else, make sure the sound is good. Think back to the old days of radio. If the sound went out on radio, you know, they had problems. If you couldn't hear because there was static or snow or whatever on the radio, it was a problem. You know, you lose interest, you change the channel. Well, same thing in the movies. You know, the fact that you will watch TV on a phone or a watch indicates that you don't give a crap about the picture. But you really do, I know, and it's HD and things are getting bigger and better all the time. But the point is, you know, is technology. When you watched stuff on YouTube not that long ago, it was pretty crappy. People were willing to watch this crappy little stuff on YouTube because there was entertainment value, even if the picture sucked. So, picture is important, but the performance in the story is the most important. And as a director, the difference between that and a play is that you're pointing out where people are supposed to be watching. So you're literally taking their eyeballs and going, here's where you look. Whereas a play, you can look anywhere. But the director is focusing you. So you need that same focus on the performance. Because you're saying, here, watch this person. The other thing about casting that's important is that not everything in your short is equal. It's not all of the same importance. There's going to be certain point plots or certain lines that are going to further the story, that are going to be delivered in a particular way by a particular person that's going to move the story forward. And those are the things you need to accentuate. You need to make sure that the actor delivers them correctly, by that meaning enough to capture the audience, and that you capture it on film. And there's lots of times when things are lost because either sound is bad, or they did something in a wide shot, or they didn't hear. You know, you got to think plot points. What is truly important here?